In the world of teen dramas where love triangles are as common as an algebra class, Blue Lagoon: The Awakening takes the trope and throws it onto a deserted island, literally. This isn't your typical high school romance, it's like if Romeo and Juliet met Survivor, but with fewer tiki torches and more hormonal angst. Imagine being stuck with your high school crush on a deserted island. Sounds like a dream, right? Well, hold on to your coconuts because this film takes that fantasy and adds a dash of reality check, complete with sunburns and survival struggles. Think of it as a cross between Castaway and High School Musical, but with fewer volleyballs with faces and more awkward teenage moments. In the heart of Blue Lagoon: The Awakening, we meet Emma and Dean, two high schoolers who couldn't be more different if they tried. Emma, a bright and ambitious student, is the kind of girl who makes to-do lists for her to-do lists. Meanwhile, Dean is the brooding bad boy, often found leaning against lockers in a way that defies the laws of physics and teenage nonchalance. The stage is a typical high school where the biggest worries are usually about prom dates and algebra tests, until fate, in its most ironic sense, decides to take these two on an unplanned field trip to a survival class. As Emma and Dean adapt to their island existence, their daily life becomes a series of comical misadventures. They navigate the art of island cuisine, which is less about gourmet cooking and more about not poisoning themselves with mystery berries. Their attempts at interior decorating their shelter could give any home makeover show a run for its money if the currency was sheer improvisational chaos. It's like watching a nature documentary if the narrator decides to take a long lunch break and leaves the animals in charge. The high school setting serves as a stark contrast to the wild, untamed island where our protagonists end up. It's like comparing a well-manicured school lawn to the Amazon rainforest. Here, popularity contests and GPA scores are as useful as a chocolate teapot. This juxtaposition not only amplifies the shock of their new reality, but also sets the tone for their transformation journey. Our adventure kicks off with a school trip to Trinidad, where Emma and Dean, by a twist of fate and a serious lack of adult supervision, find themselves stranded on a boat drifting away to an unknown island. Picture this, it's like going on a school trip to the museum and ending up in a different time zone. Their arrival on the island is less of a grand explorer's landing and more of a whoops, we're not in Kansas anymore. Initially, their survival skills are as polished as a pair of old sneakers. Emma, armed with her optimism, and Dean with his brooding skepticism, face the reality of island life. It's a mix of the Swiss Family Robinson and Home Alone, but with more sunburn. The duo's early attempts at making the island their home are filled with trial and error. And by error, I mean the kind of mistakes that make you facepalm so hard you leave a mark. Their initial days on the island are a crash course in how not to be a castaway. If you've ever wondered how well the high school prepares you for life, ask Emma and Dean. Spoiler, it doesn't involve lessons on building shelters or lighting fires without matches. On this island, teenage angst doesn't just walk, it runs marathons. Emma's transition from a high-achieving student to a makeshift survivalist is like watching a caterpillar turn into a butterfly, albeit one that's really good at spearfishing. Dean, with his brooding demeanor, finds that his usual wall-leaning skills are surprisingly unhelpful in the wild. Their journey is a testament to the adaptability of teenagers, especially when their biggest concern shifts from pop quizzes to not becoming a snack for the local wildlife. As Emma and Dean begin their unexpected stint as amateur survivalists, their antics resemble a reality show where the contestants forgot they signed up. Emma's approach to survival is like a Pinterest board that comes to life if the board is titled Do-It-Yourself Island Edition. Dean, on the other hand, channels his inner Bear Grylls minus the camera crew and emergency support. Their forays into fishing, shelter building, and fruit gathering are a blend of comedic trial and more error. Let's just say that if survival skills were graded, it'd be hovering around a solid C-. But it's not all coconuts and sunshine. The hardships of the island bring out the depth of their characters. Emma's resilience shines as bright as her sunburn, while Dean's protective instincts surface like a dolphin in tropical waters. Emma and Dean's journey can only be described as Extreme Home Makeover Island Edition. Emma, with her penchant for order and planning, decides they need a shelter. But we're not talking a few palm leaves here. She's aiming for architectural splendor. Dean, ever the pragmatist, suggests a more, let's say, minimalist approach. Their shelter-building saga turns into a contest of wills. Emma tries to direct operations with a stick in the sand, drawing elaborate blueprints. Dean, meanwhile, is chopping away at foliage like he's auditioning for a jungle action movie. The result? A wonky structure that looks like it was designed by a committee of confused parrots. Their first night in the shelter is a symphony of creaks, groans, and the occasional mysterious wildlife noise, leaving them wondering if sleeping under the stars was such a bad idea after all. Next up, we have the Gourmet Island Cuisine Challenge. Emma, ever the optimist, tries to bring some culinary flair to their castaway diet. Picture her attempting to make sushi with whatever fish Dean clumsily manages to catch in seaweed that's more slime than sublime. Dean, on his part, adopts the if it's edible, it's lunch philosophy. He's all about the basics. It's not poisonous, it's on the menu. Their combined culinary efforts result in meals that are unforgettable for reasons they'd probably rather forget. Let's talk about island hygiene now. Emma, missing her 10-step skincare routine, tries to create beauty treatments from island resources. Coconut oil for everything, right? Dean, on the other hand, seems to embrace the all-natural look a bit too enthusiastically. Let's just say his cologne becomes quite the topic of conversation among the local insect population. And who can forget the island fashion? Emma, initially trying to keep her clothes pristine, soon finds out that island life is not kind to wardrobes. Her attempts at sewing and repairs with palm fronds and vines lead to some interesting new trends. Dean's fashion sense becomes a practical statement. As long as it covers what it needs to, it works. They inadvertently start a new line of island chic that's all the rage with the monkeys and parrots. Emma, the planner, meticulously arranges rocks and logs, hoping for a passing plane. Dean's method? Giant bonfires that threaten to signal the entire island, along with a good portion of the nearby wildlife. Their rescue signal attempts are a blend of hope, comedy, and the occasional accidental wildfire. As days turn into weeks, their relationship evolves from awkward co-survivors to something deeper. They're like two mismatched socks that somehow end up making a perfect pair. Their bickering gives way to bonding, with moments that are equal parts sweet and salty, like a survivalist version of a rom-com minus the meetup at a coffee shop. Stranded on an island, Emma and Dean ride an emotional roller coaster that puts your average teenage drama to shame. It's like they've stumbled into an intense boot camp for feelings, with nature as the unyielding instructor. As they navigate their new reality, their emotions swing like a pendulum, from fear and frustration to moments of unexpected joy and laughter. Their relationship, budding amidst the backdrop of a beautiful yet indifferent wilderness, is a study in contrasts. It's like watching a nature documentary, but with more heart-to-hearts and less David Attenborough. Emma's optimism is the yin to Dean's brooding yang, and their growing affection is as organic as the island's untamed foliage. Amidst this, there are moments of levity, because what's a survival story without a few laughs? Whether it's a humorous quip about their situation or a playful banter, these lighter moments serve as a reminder that even in the direst circumstances, human connection and humor prevail. As our intrepid duo's stint on the island turns from days to weeks and weeks to months, the thought of rescue begins to feel as distant as a Wi-Fi signal in the wilderness. However, just when you expect them to start adopting pet rocks for company, salvation appears in the form of a rescue helicopter. It's like winning the lottery, but instead of a cash prize, it's a ticket back to civilization. The return to their old lives is a culture shock akin to stepping out of a time machine. The world they left behind has moved on, while they've been busy playing Gilligan and Skipper. Their readjustment to high school life is awkwardly hilarious. It's like trying to fit into a pair of jeans you outgrew 3 months ago. The spotlight of media attention and school fame turns their once private ordeal into a public spectacle. Yet, amidst this whirlwind of change, the bond they formed on the island remains the one constant. Their relationship, forged in the crucible of survival, faces the ultimate test as they navigate the choppy waters of their old lives. It's a bittersweet symphony of trying to find normalcy in a world that now feels slightly off-kilter. Returning to the world of high school after their island escapade, Emma and Dean find the landscape of lockers and lunchrooms as baffling as an advanced calculus class after years of skipping school. They navigate the corridors with the wide-eyed bewilderment of two people who've just returned from a trip to Mars, finding the usual high school dramas. Who's dating who got a bad haircut, almost hilariously trivial compared to their recent life and death adventures. It's like they've been playing a high-stakes game of survival, and now they're back to playing bingo. Their reintegration is a comedic juxtaposition of their intense island experience against the backdrop of typical teenage concerns, making their efforts to readjust seem like a couple of astronauts trying to figure out how to use a smartphone again. The film, while a visual spectacle of teen romance and survival drama, tiptoes along the lines of cliché, especially in its character portrayal. Emma, initially depicted as a strong, ambitious overachiever, seems to drift towards romantic fixations post her island adventure, subtly hinting at an outdated narrative, where a girl's aspirations take a backseat to love interests. This shift, while engaging for the drama, raises an eyebrow at the reinforcement of traditional gender roles in teen narratives. Furthermore, the island's survival portrayal oscillates between the realms of overly simplified and theatrically dramatic. It's as if the script was penned with a survival for dummies in one hand and a soap opera plot generator in the other. The treehouse, a key element while visually appealing, could have been mistaken for an IKEA summer catalog feature, rather than a believable survival shelter, adding to the film's list of charming yet implausible elements. In essence, Blue Lagoon: The Awakening juggles with the typical teen drama tropes and a survival adventure, sometimes missing the mark and offering a realistic or empowering narrative. It's a roller coaster that sometimes feels like it's going off the rails, yet somehow manages to deliver a visually pleasing and entertaining ride, if not a particularly deep one.